Once again, folks, this is Customizing the Clone Wars, episode number 13. I am your host, as always, Peak Obi-Wan Customizer, and along with me, I have my friend and co-host, Darth Daddy. How you doing tonight?
Doing all right. How are you doing there?
I'm great. I'm great after watching all the celebration highlights and everything. It's been awesome. It's been a great weekend.
I have some catching up to do. Just between yesterday and today, I worked like 30 hours. So I'm catching up now.
Awesome.
Saw some of the Rebel stuff. That was really exciting. And
Yeah,
it's
that
kind of
was
cool because, some of the episodes that we're talking about tonight play into Rebels, which is pretty cool.
For sure. And we got a guest tonight who frequently comes on. We got Elias, and he is part of Custom for the Kid. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm good. I'm tired. I didn't get any sleep whatsoever this weekend.
Ready to talk some Clone Wars?
Yeah, that's just like think about Clone Wars and all my problems go away.
Exactly. So what we have tonight, if you didn't see our last episode, we're deep into season 1, and we are going to be talking about the rest of what is called the Ryloth arc. We talked about Storm over Ryloth last week, and now we're going to be finishing out the arc with Innocence of Ryloth and Liberty on Ryloth, yes. And those are going to finish it out. You know what happens next week, don't you?
The season finale?
Season finale.
Yeah, next week is
What
season
episode
finale.
was that? Hostage Crisis?
We just got the one. Yeah.
It is Hostage Crisis. Yep. Yeah, what do you think about that? We've been blazing through this, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because we've been doing like the arcs all in one episode.
Yeah.
Well, this one we split into 2. It all depends on how many customs we have. So
True.
really, like, even with, you guys who are watching, this is really an experience where don't hold us to a standard. Like, it's going to be a 20-minute show. It's going to be a 40-minute show. I mean, generally, we're always going to keep them short, but we don't know how much we're going to talk about because it's always going to be based on how much artwork we have.
Or like Blue
representing those
Shadow
episodes.
Virus. That one, there was just so much to talk about. It went on forever. And you guys didn't go off topic. There was just so much to talk about in Blue Shadow Virus.
Yeah, we'll get going on this one.
All right. Well, let's jump into it, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to read our little blurb, our little episode blurb from the episode guide, if you can see that there. It just basically tells us a synopsis of the story. So it says, Obi-Wan attempts to destroy separatist proton cannons on Ryloth that are being protected by a shield of Twi'lek hostages. Who says Twi'lek and who says Twi'lek, right?
I kind of like go in between. It's like weird.
Well, if you noticed when Dave was talking on the Star Wars show about the Lothal cats, he also called them Lothal cats.
Yes.
He even made reference to the fact of, using both pronunciations.
Like Ahsoka Tano or Ahsoka Tano.
It's a very Star Wars
or
way
like,
of
yeah. Everybody says different things.
Yeah. Moving up.
So I'm going to jump back in and I'm going to call them Twi'leks, right? So in a devastated Twi'lek town called Navat, 2 clone troopers boil and wax to befriend a young Twi'lek named Numa. Their kindness is repaid with the little girl shows the Republic forces a way to free the prisoners. All right, so there is our first episode that we're going to jump into. Who wants to see a fortune cookie?
I do. I like fortune cookies.
Yeah.
All right.
Even though it tastes like sugar wafer.
Awesome. So here we go. It says the costs of war can never be truly accounted for. What do you think about that, Elias?
I feel like it's kind of saying like war is damaging, and what it takes away, you're never gonna get back.
Right.
It kind of just tells you how stupid war is.
Mm-hmm.
Not really. We should all just be peaceful, happy people, because wars destroy the earth and
Yep.
people, and just pretty much all. What good does war do?
So true. So true. I appreciate that. Anything to add on that, Brian?
No, I think he summed it up.
I think he did a great job, man. Wars not make one great, right?
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. We're jumping right into it. We have Obi-Wan and Mace Windu, and they are going down to try to free this city of Nabat or whatever. And they're having their little thing going on, their conversation about what they need to do. So Obi-Wan's going to go down first, and he's going to go with his crew, Ghost Company, so they're called, and they're going to try to at least take this city. So they can get, a foothold or something like that. So here we have, this is TX20, and we actually have a figure of this guy, but man, he was from that hard wave again, that wave that, it was super hard to get.
Right?
Yeah, right? You know what's funny about this too? The two tactical droids that they made were from the same arc. TX20 and TX21 are actually from this arc. Did you know that?
Well, what I noticed with the toy lines, they did focus specifically on certain arcs, and they didn't make toys for other arcs. Like they kind of chose, like, all right, these are the arcs we're going to send Hasbro, and they could, build things based on these storylines. I think it was based on what they were provided with.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought that was funny though. I was like, wow, both of those droids are both from the same arc episode. One's from this one and one's from the other one. It was kind of cool that we got to see TX20 previous in what was the one we did where I showed the Ventress with Slick, the Slick episode.
Hidden Enemy?
Yeah, Hidden Enemy. We actually get to see TX20 briefly. In the end, yeah. So let's get back to the episode, and I will keep going here. And here we have Wat Tambor, and he's talking about just making sure they don't get a foothold, just like they did in space, just like Anakin and Ahsoka did. And check out that cannon, man. I would really like to have one of those. I know they made the clone one, but I'd really like to have one of those. It's called a proton cannon. I guess it has like the crab droid feet on it or something like that. But it looks
like it's like an actual droid. It looks like it actually has like two red eyes in the front.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was like, that's gotta be a droid. It's just a giant gun droid. And I just think
it's like a droid with a giant gun on its back.
For sure.
It's got to be heavy.
Yeah. So here we have, they finally get on the ground, and here we have Rex, and this is, or not Rex, Cody. And this is the dirtiest or scratched up I think I've ever seen him.
Yeah, especially those shoulder pads.
Yeah. And it's just so cool to see him all beat up like this. I've never really seen anybody so scratched up, I actually think they did different types of scratches on some of the troopers. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
that's probably one of the most weathered ones.
Yeah,
especially for the hero stuff.
Yeah. And all right, so we'll keep moving, and here I have a Cody, and you've seen this before.
Yep.
And this utilizes the phase 2 of the clone, or what Hasbro's phase 2 was. What do you think about that, Elias? The different type of clone trooper. It was it had kind of a different cast to it, a different kind of cast. What'd you think about that?
Are you talking about like the Phase 2 Clone Trooper armor?
No, I was just talking about how it looked a little bit different. The stone.
Oh, how his armor is like slightly different than the other Clone Troopers?
They had a little
More
less
angles.
articulation.
Angles, you mean?
Yeah, yeah. What'd you think
The
about
chest
it?
area and stuff.
I never really noticed that much. I wasn't focusing on the armor that much. I was more focused on the story, like my dad is.
Very good. Very good. All right. So we're going to move along here. And let me see here. I will keep it going. All right. So we're in the trees, and they're definitely trying to attack. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to attack the droids and whatnot. And let me go back to what I was sharing previous here. There we go. Share. And here we are, and we have our two most important troops.
Yep.
So I would call them. This is Waxer and Boyle. And man, why would you want to be called Boyle? Right?
Yeah.
Well, he was the one who was more like, let's ditch this kid.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're sent out on a recon mission, basically, and they take off and they go separate ways with the rest of Ghost Company. And speaking of recon, this is called a recon droid. Man, I really want to make this thing. I actually have the head started on this, but I just I haven't got the chance to actually sit down and do the legs on it and whatnot. So there's another picture of it. I adore this thing. I just think it's so cool. I really would like to make it and make it right.
I thought of it as a probe droid. I thought it was like more like a older version of the probe droid. Yeah,
it has that sound too, doesn't it? It has a really nice sound, similar to the Imperial probe droid. So here we have Waxer and Boyle. And they hear some kind of noise, and they're like, well, it's probably droids, so let's attack it. And they go down the alley, and what do they find? They find just a little girl. And this is Numa. And this is going to lead us actually to our first custom. Would you like to share your custom of Numa?
Yeah, I think when I share it, it's going to end up showing her with Waxer and Boyle.
That works.
Pretty nice setup for her, but
yeah, I'd like to see that.
Let me, because I had to make a small adjustment on the Waxer and the Boyle, because when Hasbro released the figure, they forgot to put the red triangle on the helmet here, so I actually just went in and painted that in, and then that's the only adjustment really there. And then the Numa I actually made out of How to Train Your Dragon Hiccup action figure.
Awesome.
And I just dremeled them down, and I think the arms, I want to say, were from Ben Quadraneros, maybe.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I think the hands are from, I want to say, Ayla Sakura.
Nice.
Very vintage Ayla Sakura.
How
And
about the dress on her? Is the dress plastic or cloth? Or
the dress is actually made out of Fix-It. It's it goes up into the, like, you still have the legs, so it still looks like a dress. But yeah, it's actually made out of Fix-It. It's a solid material. I think this is only the second figure I ever hand sculpted. Possibly. I remember she's like one of my earlier figures, so I like that you did yours with like a soft goods.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wish I didn't really mess around with soft goods much at that time. I think everything on her is Fix-It. I think the only thing that might be made, I think even her little like doll was Fix-It, but then I dropped it once. And I was like, man, I'm just gonna put some green stuff on the end, so if it drops another time, I don't have to worry about it cracking or breaking off.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Fix-It, isn't it? I've pulled away from Fix-It a little bit simply because I am definitely clumsy, you know, and I'll drop figures all the time, and it dries kind of like a resin, folks. If you're using Fix-It, it's not bad per se. It's great. It's a really great thing to use because it's very versatile. Yet when it dries like a stone or a rock or something like that. And I know I'm going to drop every figure that I make. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's ultimately why I've used it less. I mean, lately I've been using something called Procreate, and we've talked about that also. And it's very similar to green stuff. It's just a two-part mix. And it dries like plastic, a little bit more like plastic. And I'll share mine.
It has a lot of flexibility.
What's that? Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that the Procreate has a lot of flexibility, like a figure that we're going to show later in the program. Fix-It, I think, is good for you on the torso, or like if you want to use it on arms. But when it comes to things like hair or robes of any type, or there's just certain, like on Leku, I wouldn't feel comfortable. At the top of the Leku, sure, but when it starts getting towards the bottom, that's when you want to switch to like either green stuff or Procreate.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Leku tail are great for Procreate, for sure, or green stuff. Green stuff is good too. I don't have a back shot of my Numa going on right here, but you can kind of see her Leku tail hanging down, and they were Procreate, and they just worked out perfect for me. And like you said, on mine, I actually have soft goods for the dress. I don't have any articulation underneath the dress, in her knees or anything. Her feet can articulate, but I pick my battles. I didn't do as much articulation in the arm and whatnot, but the elbows, it's suitable. I feel it's suitable for what I did. But there's mine. And this is another picture of Boyle again with that little arrow. It's so funny, folks. If you don't know what we were referring to earlier, when the Hasbro version came out, it was yellow. The little triangle on his helmet there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they had it, but it was the wrong color.
Yeah. So both Brian and I, Darth Daddy and I, we took the time to actually paint our triangle red. It's very, very Macquarie, triangles. You can see that in Rebels. You can see a lot of triangles on their outfits and whatnot. I bet they went through this thing where they were like, well, there's yellow and black on the figure, and then they were like, it's going to be too much if we put red paint on there. Just one little dot of red paint. I bet that's what they were thinking, right?
Oh yeah, they didn't want to pay for the extra color.
And there's mine. It's not so much a customized figure. I just painted the triangle red opposed to leaving it yellow. But I didn't really do anything else to the armor.
I didn't either. I wanted to try and keep it so it still matched Waxer.
Yeah. So here we have these two guys, and they found this this local, and she's all by herself. She's just this little girl, and they can't speak to her or anything. She speaks her native language, which is native Twi'leks and whatnot, or Nabats, or wherever she's from. And here we see her little animal, and we find out later on. What do you think about this character, Elias?
I don't know. I think it's kind of like the universal Star Wars children's toy because you see it like everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like you even see a decal of it on the side of Suzy's ship in a later episode.
And what is this? What is this thing called?
I don't know.
Oh, it's a Tuca doll. It's a Tuca doll.
Yeah, from the Chuka cat that you have up there.
Oh,
Yeah. And we find out later on in the series of Clone Wars that this is actually, it's a stuffed animal, not so much of a upright walking creature, more of a cat. It's just a funny little cat, you know, that you can find throughout the galaxy. And
yeah.
It almost has a Cheshire cat look to it.
Yeah.
But when I see that dog, that doesn't look like a cat.
Yeah, I know. We find that out. It's kind of a surprise at the end, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember on Sugi's ship, I remember that Tuka doll was holding like a knife with like blood dripping on it.
Oh, we talked about that last
Yeah,
week.
it was holding like a knife covered in blood.
Wow.
Yeah, we talked about the great, the nose arts is what those are called. Awesome nose arts. I think I have that somewhere. I'll have to put it in the show notes or something, but we'll move on. So they found their place, or they found Numa's old home, and they realized that they're in danger by being there. That's why she never came back, because the Separatists decide they're going to release these kind of these creatures, these roaches or these giant ticks. They're called gut curs. And
they look a lot like big Nunas. They look like overgrown Nunas.
Overgrown Nunas, yet with terrible teeth.
With
right?
big teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some overgrown Nunas on steroids with very big teeth.
What are Nunas?
Nunas are those like little jumping, like, I don't know. They're like those that, I don't know. They're similar to that. They're like the tiny things. Jabba flicked one off the railing in Phantom Menace.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah, you remember in season 2, once we get to it, the deserter, they're actually eating a Nuna for dinner.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they're supposed to like resemble chickens.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So here we have, like I said, Numa has befriended these two, and she calls them. Do you know what she calls them?
Nara.
Nara. Okay, yeah. So
the brother.
Yep. It's brother, but they don't know that right now. They're just kind of like, what the heck is Nara? What is Nara? Yeah, but she certainly has kind of warmed up to these guys, and this is really amazing, especially, just for me, this story here, these are her heroes, essentially. These troops are her heroes. And we see later on in Rebels that we meet this girl again, don't we?
Yeah.
And
you get to see her dress up on her head.
Oh, man, isn't that great? I just think that's hilarious. Yeah. She's wearing her dress on her head, yeah. If you don't know what we're talking about, folks, she is actually in Rebels, and so is one of the Twi'lek that I'm going to be showing you later on in this episode. His name is Gobi. They make a return. It's great in Rebels that we're actually getting to see some of these characters from the Clone Wars, because it's our opportunity to see characters that existed that we truly love, right? Yeah. So what do you think about this? This is the Gut Cur, and they release the hounds. They release them on the rest of the troop, and this is a part where Obi-Wan actually traps them, uses the Force, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So while they're distracted with the Gut Curs, Numa tells them, hey, I have a secret passage in the house into the sewers, and we're going to get through that way. And they're already late for their rendezvous with the rest of the Ghost Company. And here we see, what's this? Once again, we see Obi-Wan losing his lightsaber and Cody giving it to him again. Yep, not the first time.
It's so ironic, Obi-Wan being the one, this lightsaber is your life, don't lose it.
Constantly losing it. Isn't that something, right?
Yeah.
So here they are. Yeah, they're in the sewer, and Numa actually is showing them the way, and Obi-Wan actually speaks Twi'lek or Twi'lek, and they are actually going to attempt to save the rest of the Twi'leks that are being held hostage and whatnot. So so they're going through the tunnels here, and it's funny, this image that you're seeing in the back here. It's the exact same image that they use in the next episode when the blurs are actually in the gates. Did you know that?
Oh yeah, they double used the set.
They double used the set. Yeah. So
Those
here we
people-
are at the end. And what's that? Say that again.
Oh, he was asking.
Blurs, yeah.
Yeah. He was asking what the blurs were, but I just told him.
Yeah, it's kind of like their horses, you know.
Yeah, derpy horses.
Kind of look like toads, don't they?
A little bit.
Or Nunas, right?
Man, I wish. You know, there was a customizer who made a toy version of it.
Yeah.
And I had contacted him earlier in the week, and he doesn't know where the image is, and I couldn't find it. And it was so cool. He made it out of the old, that first dewback that came out, not the special Walmart one, the one that was, I guess, was that a Power of the Force 2?
Power of the Force 2. Yep.
Yes. So he used that, and he ended up cutting off like the front section of it. He basically took the head off and then attached it to the tail and the back legs in such a way that, you know, it looked like the Blurg. And he ended up using Jar Jar Binks' arms that kind of fold over. His name's Colin Hobbs. He's a customizer out of the UK. But he made a really cool one, and like I wish I had the picture to share with you guys, but I couldn't find it, and he couldn't find it. But yeah, he at least told me how he made it, and I hope, you know, you guys can at least imagine it in your head. But it worked. It worked well.
Yeah, I would have liked to made a blur at some point. We actually see those in the Ewok adventures, don't we?
Yeah.
From the 80s, the classic Ewok adventures, the blurs, you know. So those are kind of, would you say, expanded universe?
Well, not anymore. Now they're canon.
Right, now they're canon. You know, they did another thing with canon this week, didn't they? They brought back Thrawn.
Yeah, that was pretty big.
Yeah. So EU, look out, people. EU is coming back.
If you haven't seen the trailer, spoiler alert, Thrawn's in Rebels now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, spoiler alert. Yeah, you're right.
Not everybody knows these things.
Oh.
But it's been announced. So.
Yeah.
Whether they find out through watching Star Wars Celebration.
It's like if you haven't seen that, you're not enough of it.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's see here. All right, let's move on here. So here we are at the end of the episode, and look at that, man.
Tactical droid's looking pretty good.
Yeah, just rips his head right off. You know, I envision like some metal music like going on. He's like, I'm pulling that head right off that body. You know, so they basically attack him, and they succeed in this city back. So here we're going to move on, and here we are at the end, and everybody's happy, and they're seeing everyone off. And this is what you're referring to when they said it means brother. When they ask, you know, what is the what does Nira mean? What does Nira mean? So, yeah. All right. So moving on to the next episode. Here we have a fortune cookie. Check this out. It says, compromise is a virtue to be cultivated, not a weakness to be despised. What do you think about that?
I think it's more saying like choose diplomacy over war because it's a skill that's very important in life, and it's good at preventing bad situations.
Yeah, because we run into politics in this episode. One of the things they try to stay away from in the new Star Wars universe. Don't they?
I love the politics, and in The Force Awakens they blew up politics. So I'm like, well, now I know there won't be any politics at all.
Yeah, they did, didn't they?
They literally blew up politics.
That's so true. So true. So here we have the next episode. This is called Liberty on Ryloth, and this is going to end off the episode. And I'm going to read our little blurb from the episode guide. It says, Jedi Master Mace Windu seeks an alliance with Twi'lek freedom fighter Sham Syndulla, hoping that Twi'lek rebels and Republic troops can together break the Separatist stronghold on Ryloth's capital city of Lesu. But to get Syndulla's help, Mace must settle a feud between him and the corrupt Senator Orn Frita. I didn't actually know Orn Frita was corrupt, but he's just more dopey to me in this series. You know what I'm saying? Dopey, yeah. He's not.
He's more focused on his
more
stomach.
frail, maybe like frail.
Yeah.
He seemed more focused on his legendary appetite than the actual politics at hand.
Yeah, but you can't eat like that unless you have money.
Yeah.
So here we have
corruption. He probably went corrupt to feed his appetite. He probably went corrupt to feed his appetite.
Yeah. So here we have Mace, and he's moving in on the city of Lesu. And isn't it funny that he arrives in not purple marked ATTEs, but green? Isn't that something?
Yeah,
that's something I noticed.
His troopers, you know, I don't know if you remember, like the realistic figures they actually put out, like Mace Windu troopers, and he didn't have them in this episode.
Yeah,
we never actually saw him, but never had him.
Yeah, so here we see they're walking up the side of the cliff, and one of their ATTEs gets beat down, one of his green ATTEs. And here we see the ATTE driver. Did you see him laying in there? Here's an image of him.
Oh, yeah, he slumped in.
You know what I did notice one time? I think when Mace Windu busted open the window and actually pulled the guy out, he wasn't wearing special armor. It was actually just a normal clone set that they used.
Oh, yeah. We talk about that quite a bit, where they'll use one of their assets, like I'm showing here, and then it'll just be a random change on it. You know, we see that with Cody all the time. His helmet,
yeah, because when he breaks the glass, they change the shot.
And I love that too. I love that he uses the Force and breaks that glass. You know, it's so cool.
They actually do that later on with the ice in Youngling episodes when they go to get their crystals.
Right. Only they're smaller, so they have to have two.
Yeah, that's right.
So here we have
same technique.
If you want to use the Force, you must be big. If you are small, you need two hands.
Right.
Like two Force users.
So here we have Pons here. This was actually a Toys R Us exclusive trooper, and he's actually really cool. And here he has maroon as well. He doesn't really have purple or anything. Yep. And this is his lead guy in charge. Definitely a cool figure to get if you have a chance. You can't actually get him in stores anymore, but he's very cool. Yeah. And it's the first time for a lot of things in this episode. This is the first time we actually see the chicken walkers used exclusively. You know, we've seen them in the background in different episodes, but to really see them ride them for the first time and use them to their fullest extent, you know what I'm saying?
Did they have custom paint jobs on those?
Well, I believe they just had just in Republic markings and whatnot. What's that? What's that type of handwriting they use?
Arabish.
Arabish, yeah.
Yeah,
So that was
I translated a whole letter of that. Wasn't easy. It took a while.
yeah.
It was fun though. It was like
I have like an entire book that translates everything for me.
Very cool. Oh, here's my favorites again. The
Recon droid.
yeah, and he's, you know, it's funny that they were always spying on the Republic, the Jedi and the troops, and they never really got anywhere with it, you know.
Yeah.
It was funny.
And if you look closely at the recon droid, if you look closely into the eye, you can actually see like little hexagonal photoreceptors in the eye.
Kind of like a bug, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I really dig that thing. I'm eventually going to get around to it. I have the head started. I just have to get all those little eyes on there and whatnot. Definitely be cool. So they know they're down about 30 men, 30 troops, right? So Mace is like, I'm going to enlist the help of Sham Syndulla. He's considered a freedom fighter. And that's going to bring us to our exclusive reveal, our newest reveal from Darth Daddy. And he is going to tell us about his newest custom that he has made. And it's a work in progress, Sham Syndulla. So I'll turn that over to you if you'd like to talk about it.
all right, yeah, sure. All right, so with this figure, I just posted it like 3 seconds before I'm showing it to you, so you guys are basically getting the first crack at this. It is a work in progress. I was hoping to have them done for you all tonight. Unfortunately, it just didn't happen. I spent most of Friday. It was down to the wire, and I'm like, I need to get to bed because I got work tomorrow. But what I did, it's pretty easy. I have the recipe down here. For the base figure, it's just a Clone Wars Mace Windu. I used the 2 left forearms of the Shehan Alama, and those are vintage Quinlan Voss hands. And you know, I put in just I think Aves there. There's Aves here, and basically later on, I ended up using Procreate to make the nose and the mouth. Yeah, the Leku that are there, that's all done with Procreate because, like I said, it has great flexibility. I ended up doing the soft goods out of an old Star Wars T-shirt. I got a hole in the armpit, and I'm like, I'm just gonna cut the sleeves off and make this T-shirt sleeveless. And then T-shirt material is great for soft goods. It just falls really nice. It doesn't get all blousy like some of the Jedi robes do on the figures that just get too bulky. I mean, that really sits on there, and it really, you know, fits tight to the frame of the figure.
Yeah.
I had to use Procreate to put the rings on his gauntlets and on his boots to extend the boot flaps down lower because the Mace Windu figure didn't have that. I used the Mace Windu because it had the ball jointed hips, and if I ever do make a blurg, I want to be able to, you know, have that set up.
Right.
The Procreate patches, I took some of the Procreate for those ammunition pouches on the front of his abdomen, and I actually did them as a solid block, and then I ended up cutting them with the razor blade. That way I had nice sharp edges, and I waited for the Procreate to dry to do that. And then with the chest plate, that's just Aves. I ended up, you know, putting it on there, made sure I detailed in those edges, and then I just made some quick impressions. I forget what I used. I think it was probably just one of my I think it was a sculpting tool.
Very cool.
I'm not entirely sure where that blaster is from. At first, I was like, "Am I getting?" I almost used the Force Awakens Han Solo one, and then I saw this other one that was bulkier and it had that more animated look, so I grabbed that, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I still have to do the tattoos on the head. Like I kind of inferred them a bit here, but I just didn't have the time to like go in and put all that detail in at the last minute. So probably tomorrow I'll do it. I have the day off tomorrow. So that's probably when I'll get around to it. I may still mess with the head sculpt a little bit. I don't know if I'm entirely happy with it. I'm still feeling that out, and I just want to do a better paint job on the eyes still. They are brown now. I think my earliest version, they were blue. I don't think you could really see it there, though. But, yeah, hopefully I'll have them done tomorrow. But I think at this point, he's far enough along where I felt comfortable at least showing him to everybody.
Very cool. It looks really good.
Thank you.
Looks real good, real good. That is awesome. And you made him pretty much from one figure, huh?
Yeah, I mean, just the hands and the forearms, and honestly, I mean, I shouldn't have even used those Shahan Alama forearms. I thought I was going to give myself a shortcut because it had those rings. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, these rings are on the elbow, and I actually have to start the rings going down from where they end. So I probably should have switched out those arms for something less valuable.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was racing to have that figure done because I knew I was fighting the clock if I wanted to have something to show tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I did the same thing. I know we joke all the time. We're like, we probably don't want to make a custom for the show that same day or that same weekend.
Yeah.
We end up doing it, don't we? We end up doing it.
I spent my whole Friday I got up probably like 7:38 in the morning, and I worked on that thing till like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
It's a long, slow process.
Yeah.
But I feel like doing the show every week is pushing me to make these figures or characters that I always wanted to make, and I kept like, I'll get to it, because I was always trying to do something else. But knowing that episode's coming up, and I had the fodder, and I always, had the desire to make that character, I find that I'm making the WAG 2s, I'm making the Champs and Doulas that, I always put off till another day. I always was procrastinating on. And I find that this show is pushing me to, create these things. And, now they're done and I can move on. And I keep getting to add to all the characters that I've always wanted to.
Mm-hmm. And who doesn't want unique characters, right?
Yeah, that's half the fun.
I don't know what's going on with Hasbro these days.
Yeah.
They just don't really seem like they're
afraid of the fence of the hidden toilet, and what they didn't realize is that their figures would come up bad.
What are they afraid of?
Their figures are the quality of it. Let's be honest.
No, I like all the new Rebel stuff that's coming out. I wish it was more articulated, but I like the molds. I like the paint.
Look at the hair, how like the tattoos are.
Not on every figure. It was just that one that we got.
Yeah, and like how often that happened before.
Well, I just made this mistake of ordering it online, and then once you get it in the mail, it's missing like half her markings. If I picked that up in the store, I wouldn't have even picked that figure up at all.
The figure quality has decreased so much.
No, that's a given. That's true. But yeah. I'm gonna say I like the Rebel stuff. I like the Sabine, and
It feels good though.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
I want a Seven Sister.
That I really noticed about the popularity in those Funko Pops that's missing from Hasbro. Do you know what it is? It's the variety. Hasbro is not doing so much variety anymore. They're
not doing snaggletooth, that's for sure.
Right. And these pops are so popular with people. I'm not a pops collector or whatever, but they're so popular. Look at all the characters.
They're like stealing everybody at school.
Look at all these characters.
Oh my god. Who cares about these Funko Pops? I mean, like everybody. But you just gotta think of them as a trend.
They're cute. I think.
Think of them as a trend.
No, it's a different collection. It's somewhat like that. Some people are choosing, saying like, this is what I want to collect. That's not who you are. You collect the 3 3/4 inch, but it's a whole other branch of collecting.
This thing, just because of it's like the popularity, I think it's more of a trend where I'm living. It's becoming a trend.
No, that's fine.
Not like a actual collecting thing.
No, but I think there are. I'm sure, just like in 3 3/4 inch, you have people who casually collect, and you have people who are diehards.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was just
There's always a
thinking that
spectrum.
of this variety, this lack of variety that we're getting. Wouldn't you just love to have a Sham Syndulla just pop up?
It
You know-
does feel good to have them. I won't lie. It feels
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. And I actually, that's going to lead us into our next custom. I made a custom just today, actually, of this character. And we were joking around before we started the show, just about how simple a line that this guy had. He comes up holding his arm, and Sham's like, "What is this, a scratch? He's got a scratch on his arm." And he's like, "Well, you get better, because we realize that they don't utilize this guy enough in this episode. We see him here and there, but we see him more prominently in season 3. But who wouldn't want to have a Gobi Gali character, right? And this is the first time
That's pretty good.
you're actually seeing this guy, and I don't know. What do you think? Wouldn't you like to have a Gobi Gali?
That looks good. Are you selling?
You know, what we were talking about just a second ago, just the variety of characters.
Yeah.
You know, why can't they just do a random character like they treat, Marvel, for example? If you look at Marvel, they'll give us Captain America, then they'll go off and they'll give us some weird character that maybe a young person might not even know who it is,
Yeah.
And why can't they do that with Star Wars? The variety is gone, and that was one of the core, values of Star Wars.
Well, the problem is they're only marketing to 6-year-olds when you have people who have been invested in that line for 40 years now, and it's like, wait a second. So you're only targeting one age group every year.
Yeah.
And everyone else is left out. And, you're never going to get variety if they're just pandering to, the child of that year.
Yeah, you can't really say that though, because they do it with 6-inch too. You just get a couple
6-inch, they're making the Revan. They're doing the fan choice. They're at least waving that olive branch, but it's to people that don't deserve the olive branch because they're newbies.
Yeah.
It's a new collection. It's like you're not. The people you need to appease are the people who have dumped thousands upon thousands of dollars into a collection that has been in existence, since the movies have been in existence, and you're just pulling the rug out from under them and leaving nothing in its place.
That's true. Yeah, and that's my point. I mean, I would love to see just a random Twi'lek freedom fighter, you know what I'm saying, on a single carded figure, and you don't necessarily have to get into this type of detail, folks. If you're noticing it, I actually did use a G.I. Joe figure, and I do that from time to time. I'll use different types of figures to produce something. The head is Star Wars, and then the feet are actually Star Wars as well. I used that same Mace Windu that you used, and what would you call that style of foot? We're seeing
they call it a rocker ankle.
Yeah, a rocker ankle. It's basically a ball joint on a hinge joint. So it gives you the swivel ability, but then it goes up and down as well. I actually don't like it as much, but it definitely stands really well,
Yeah.
So I added a little bit to it with the Procreate. You can see on the front there, and a lot of like the little straps and whatnot are Procreate, and the knee pads are Procreate, and the Laku tail once again. So that's our little rant. And here's just some steps. I'm trying to show some of my steps too. You can kind of see where it began. kind of the whip of it. I thought I'd show that this time around, just to give you an idea of where we're kind of at, what we kind of do. And you can see some of the gray imagery that you have here. That's where I sculpted it. So, and good reference images too certainly help, with painting and color and whatnot. So that's an example. Yeah, that's an example of what I'm showing here. I have this huge reference library of Clone Wars, just imagery that I just zoom in on and zoom out on, and just I got to get it right, And here's another just example of some of my technique. This what I'm holding in my hand or my fingers there. That's one of the knee pads, and that's just the way I went about doing it. And I often sculpt with an X-Acto knife, so that's just a kind of an example of my process, if that makes any sense. And that was do you know what G.I. Joe figure that was?
No.
It was a Joe Colt, from the G.I. Joe movie.
I saw the G.I. Joe movie, but
it
didn't really remind me of the G.I. Joe that I grew up with as a kid.
Right.
So it's not very memorable at this point anymore. Like, I saw it, but I don't remember that much of it now.
Yeah. I prefer the 80s cartoon myself because it's not G.I. Joe Modern Warfare kind of Call of Duty. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I like that.
Yeah, that's not what Joe was. I think the closest thing I saw modern times was that G.I. Joe Renegades.
I love that.
I love Renegades too. If they would have kept going with Renegades, I think maybe, quite possibly, they could have had something with G.I. Joe. But that's a whole other.
That could have been the best G.I. Joe of all time.
Yeah.
I think
That's a whole other can of worms. I mean, G.I. Joe essentially. It essentially.
I'm not here to talk about G.I. Joe.
It essentially copied Star Wars back in the 80s. Good versus evil, and 3 3/4 inch. That format that we're talking about, that we're so missing, 3 3/4 inch format where you get figures, vehicles, beast assortments, accessories, play sets, what have you. I don't see why we can't just go back to that. So let's get back to the episode here. This whole time, we have Mace Windu, and he's trying to take the capital city, and that is being held hostage by Wat Tambor is holding it hostage. And here you see, like I said earlier, this is a first for a lot of things, and we actually see the hyena bombers. And I actually don't have one of these. Do you?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, they're still actually selling this thing at Hasbro shop, HasbroToyShop.com.
Wow.
I might actually get one because.
Yeah, you should. It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I liked about this episode is you really got to see Mace Windu in action as a Jedi, like as a warrior, as a Jedi. And it really reminded me a lot of that Tarkovsky sequence.
Right.
Because he really does have almost like superhuman Jedi abilities.
Yeah, and he's just making sure this is going to happen. There was always, I'm going to make sure this succeeds no matter what. No matter what losses we do, we are going to make this succeed. And one of the reasons Wat Tambor is so not eager to leave right away is because he's stealing treasure from all over the world, basically.
Yeah. Absolute total greed.
Yeah, total greed. And his tactical droid is trying to get him to go, but he just will not leave. And
he wants every last coin. He wants to load up as much. He has stuff already, but he wants as much as he could fit. Right. Up until the last second. That's how bad this guy is.
Yeah. But check out this picture. It's Easter egg time.
Oh,
hey,
yes.
Hey, Elias, what do you notice about this picture? Anything interesting?
I is it something from the Clone Wars?
You got to stop talking, and then you can see the picture.
Okay, so I have a picture, and what we do on our show sometimes is we show some of the Easter eggs. And in the background, we have some Twi'leks loading up
The Covenant
some
Ark.
The Ark of the
interesting.
Covenant.
Yeah, the Ark of the Covenant from Indiana Jones. Check that out.
The only thing that's different is they actually have two Twi'leks like reaching out to each other instead of those birds that are on the one from Indiana Jones.
Right.
But otherwise, it's pretty close.
Yeah, and this is the second time that we've seen Indiana Jones type.
Yeah, in the first season.
Yeah, in the first season.
Oh yeah, and then there's this other scene with Cad Bane. We'll talk about that later. In the bounty hunter shop, there's a hat.
A Pablo's pawn shop leader.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that too. Yeah, we see the hat. Yeah, that would have been great if he actually tried it on, right?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that Embo figure I made in Indiana Jones? I made him like a journalist.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty funny. So here we have like a light bridge. It's like a laser bridge or something like that. And this is
a plasma bridge.
Yeah.
This is the plasma bridge, and this is what's keeping them from getting to the city and getting to Wat Tambor, because they can just easily turn it off from the inside. So they hide in this. What is that giant ship called? The
MTT.
Yeah, the MTT. So they hide inside of it, but they know they're going to be scanned. And here are some awesome battle droids with their scanning tool here. And I definitely want to make one of these.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. And they go and they scan them, and they find out that they're in there. And we see this awesome fight sequence where Mace wants to get over to the other side. He's like, get that bridge back up. And he sends his ARV troopers to put the bridge up, and they succeed, and they take the city, and they actually capture Wat Tambor, because his droid literally leaves without him, because he's like, this guy's so greedy that I'm just gonna leave without him. And Dooku's like, that's fine. Go for it.
Yeah, it was great that Dooku was like, oh well.
Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, I think that's what he says. So, and I believe, this was the kind of the precursor to Hera, right?
Yeah. Like, she looks a little more orange there, but I guess if you look at the highlights on her skin, I guess they are kind of greenish.
Maybe
like around the eyes, it's a lighter.
Maybe they changed color, or maybe it's
maybe she's got a bad sunburn because they were sitting out in the sun for so long.
Yeah, maybe it's her big sister or something like that. But we see Sham Syndulla kind of pick this little girl up and kind of hug her and hold on to her and whatnot. And
I was actually going to try. I had a wishful thinking that I'll get Sham done, and then if I really have time, I'm going to try and make the little girl that he holds too.
Right. Yeah, we dream, don't we?
Yeah, I know. Dream big.
We say that all the time. It's like, what character can I not, can I not get to at this point? I got to get to every single character. And it's so true.
I'm caught up in projects. One project.
Yeah.
That tunnel vision is helpful sometimes.
Yeah.
That hyper focus on just one project.
Yeah.
I have a lot of side projects, but when you can really zero in on something and get it done, it's a good feeling.
Yeah. So that is the end of our episode.
Yeah.
So next week, like I said, episode 14, we are going to be going and talking about Hostage Crisis, which is the season finale, right?
Yeah.
And so we will talk about that and wrap up season 1, and we'll decide whether or not we want to do a recap show, or maybe we might just roll right into season 2. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, if we do the recap, what can we talk about?
Just we can
like
encompass
do
the
a whole,
entire.
maybe we could do like a video of everything that we've done so far for season 1 or something.
Yeah, we could do that. All right. So that's our episode, folks. Thanks for coming on, Elias. Appreciate it. If you want to find me, you can find me on Peak Obi-Wan Custom Creations on Facebook, or you can find me on Clone Wars Custom Figures. Where can we find you?
www.customsforthekid.com. Yeah, and
Awesome.
there's links there to like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, Instagram, Pinterest, and Google Plus, and Facebook.
Where can't I find you? That's what I want to know. Where can't I find you?
Yeah, you gotta spread the custom action figure love.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, we try to get our names out there, don't we? As much as possible. We're just artists, folks. We just want to show you some cool stuff along the way while we express our fandom for Clone Wars. And we'll see you next time.
May the Force be with you.